I did a lot of horsing around. I did a lot of things that at the time I thought were sort of playful and fun, and I have learned since were not. And I have had to recognize that I crossed some boundaries and I did some things that were wrong and I made some mistakes. And that's in my past.
You said you feared death at your lowest point. What was the lowest point?
It was November 1st of 2017, and then Thanksgiving Day of that same year.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this dark time. Let's talk about the sexual allegations against you that led to you being canceled by, the entire world for the last 7 years. You never prevented anyone from leaving if they wanted to, sort of in a sexual context, for example, by blocking the door. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
You always respected the explicit no from people, again, in the sexual context. Is that right?
That is correct.
You've never done anything sexual with an underage person, right?
Never.
And also, as is sometimes done in Hollywood, let me ask this. You've never explicitly offered to exchange sexual favors for career advancement, correct?
Correct.
In terms of bad behavior, what did you do? What was the worst of it? And how often did you do it?
I have heard now quite often that everybody has a Kevin Spacey story. And what that tells me is that I hit on a lot of guys.
How often did you cross the line? And what does that mean to you?
I did a lot of horsing around. I did a lot of things that at the time I thought were sort of playful and fun. And I have learned since were not. And I have had to recognize that I crossed some boundaries and I did some things that were wrong and I made some mistakes. And that's in my past. I mean, I've been working so hard over these last 7 years to have the conversations I needed to have, to listen to people, to understand things from a different perspective than the one that I had, and to say, I will never behave that way again for the rest of my life.
Just to clarify, I think you're often too pushy with the flirting. These are some of the sort of accusations that have been made, and in the court of law, multiple times have been shown not to be true.
But I have had a sexual life, and I've fallen in love, and I've been so admiring of people that I mean, I'm so romantic. I'm such a romantic person that there's this whole side of me that hasn't been talked about, isn't being discussed, but that's who I know. That's the person I know. It's been very upsetting to hear that some people have said, I mean, I don't have a violent bone in my body, but to hear people describe things as having been very aggressive is incredibly difficult for me. And I'm deeply sorry that I ever offended anyone or hurt anyone in any way. It is crushing to me, and I have to work very hard to show and to prove that I have learned, I got the memo, and I will never, ever, ever behave in those ways again. And I also understand that there are people who met me and spent a very brief period of time with me, but presumed I was now going to be their mentor, and then behaved in a way that I was unaware of, that they were either participating or flirting along or encouraging me without me having any idea that at the end of the day, they were expecting something. I accept my accountability in that, but there are a number of things that I've been accused of that just simply did not happen. And I can't say, and I don't think it would be right for me to say, well, I everything that's ever been I've been accused of is true, because we've now proved that it isn't and it wasn't. But I'm perfectly willing to accept that I had behaviors that were wrong and that I shouldn't have done. And I am regretful for. You said a little while ago that the world had canceled me, and I have to disagree with you. I have to disagree because for 7 years, I've been stopped by people, sometimes every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And the conversations that I have with people, the generosity that they share, the kindness that they show, and how much they want to know when I'm getting back to work, tells me that while there may be a very loud minority, there is a quieter majority.